OnePlus has an unusual problem. It's making very good flagship phones these days. The OnePlus 9 Pro we've recently seen is one incredibly good phone, but at the same time it's still chasing its status as smartphone giant killer. The company's Nord series is aimed at undercutting the expensive devices offered by the likes of Samsung, its Chinese rivals, or even Apple. Last year's Nord was the beginning of a new family of devices that attempted to still claim flagship killer status, but at increasingly cheaper prices. Including the debut Nord, we also saw the $250 N200, which wasn't all that great. It was, however, $250. The Nord 2 5G costs more than that and is pretty similar to the Nord in a lot of ways, including the fact that it's not destined for the US. I've been testing the Nord 2 for a couple of days, and if you like the proposition of the original Nord, you'll probably like its sequel. The Nord will cost £399 here in the UK, which works out to roughly $540, and it's taken a slightly more premium approach to its style that's a lot more similar to the more expensive OnePlus 9 series. It might look the part of a flagship, but is it as good? While I love the vivid, eye-catching sky blue of last year's Nord, its successor has a more restrained palette. OnePlus sent me the metallic blue option, and it looks an awful lot like a phone from the OnePlus 9 family, augmented by the giant camera unit, even if it's missing the Hasselblad label. The OnePlus 9 is priced slightly over $1,000, so it makes sense to lean into that design language. It's something that Samsung has done for years with its cheaper smartphones. If you don't like the restrained tones, there's also a green and grey option available depending on your region. There's an aggressively wacky faux transparent case and a season-appropriate neon sunset case that's fast becoming my favourite. When it comes to the cameras, there aren't many upgrades. The rear module is now 3 cameras, not 4, with a primary 50 megapixel sensor with optical image stabilization. That's a 2 megapixel difference compared to the original Nord, and it might not seem worth noting. However, the new primary sensor has bigger pixel size, that's 1 micrometer, up from the 0.8 micrometers of the original Nord's pixels. However, still falling short of the 1.12 micrometer pixels of the OnePlus 9 Pro. There's also an 8 megapixel wide-angle lens and a mono sensor for focus assistance. When it comes to zoom, the Nord 2 offers up to 2 times optical zoom, but thanks to the size of the sensor, it's pretty serviceable up to 5 times digital zoom. According to the spec sheet, you can even crank it up to 10 times digital zoom, but you probably shouldn't. From my brief shooting experience and without the original Nord to hand, there doesn't seem to be any major performance improvements. Perhaps predictably, the low light shooting is what benefits most from the new sensor and some new AI tricks. Otherwise, like the Nord 2 can take some very pretty photos, capturing lots of detail. The AI mode, again, is a little heavy-handed, so I turned it off most of the time. Occasionally, the phone would struggle with wide dynamic ranges, at least compared to phones double its price. Video-wise, the Nord 2 can handle up to 4K at 30 FPS and up to 60 FPS at 1080p resolution. It uses electronic image stabilization to amp up how much wobble it can handle, and video was generally pleasantly smooth. The biggest change when it comes to imaging might well be the front-facing camera. While it's OnePlus's highest specification sensor, capable of taking 32 megapixel pictures, it's just a single camera sensor compared to the dual array on the original Nord. The Nord 2's 6.47-inch AMOLED screen has a 90Hz refresh rate, which feels appropriately slick, while there are color and resolution boosting AI features that can be enabled during video playback on certain apps, including YouTube, VLC, and Instagram. We're mentioning a handful of AI features here, and that's because the Nord 2 5G also marks a shift from Snapdragon processors from Qualcomm to MediaTek, with a chip apparently made especially for OnePlus. It's called the MediaTek Dimensity 1200 AI, which, unsurprisingly, offers a degree of AI-centric muscle to processes like photo manipulation and the aforementioned video playback boosts. Compared to the original Nord, OnePlus claims this processor is 65% faster, while the GPU offers 125% improvements compared to the original. With limited time to test out the phone, so far the processor feels, well, mostly mid-ranged. I swiped and tapped through a handful of games, including Alto's Odyssey through to Genshin Impact, the latter of which is a gorgeous game that can test even the most expensive flagships. Does the Nord 2 offer the most silkiest gaming experience? No, but Genshin Impact is an incredibly resource-intensive game, and is just very good at making most phones sweat. Does it beat a flagship phone double or triple the price? God no, but can it handle it? Yes, I did experience a few stutters on a few games that the Nord 2 shouldn't really have to struggle with, but no apps suddenly shut down or anything like that. So far, so good. Those of you in the US might be frustrated that the Nord 2 5G won't be coming to the US, especially when OnePlus's even cheaper phones, which have hit US shores, have been too mediocre to recommend. However, there could be hope for future devices that land somewhere between basic smartphones and OnePlus's flagships. The Nord 2 is the first phone to be revealed since OnePlus announced it would be folding under Oppo in the future. For now, at least, this hasn't resulted in any major changes for OnePlus phones. In fact, a OnePlus spokesperson told Engadget that the company was keen to continue expansion in the US, and the Oppo deal would give them more resources to do so. Based on my early impressions, the Nord 2 feels like a great, but not quite perfect mid-range smartphone. Perhaps if there's another Nord sequel, OnePlus will nail it, and we'll see it in US stores. Check out our full breakdown of OnePlus's newest phone over at Engadget.com. Please like and subscribe to the Engadget channel, and I'll see you next time.